what would constitute a Hasidic message versus a non-Hasidic message? So I have my pet peeve about this book, a children's book, a Frum children's book, and it tells a story about a little boy whose class would go to the old age home to whatever, entertain the old people, and he hated it because old people are scary and they smell funny. So he didn't see the point in going, and he hated going. Until one time he was singing together with the class, and some old guy in a wheelchair was staring at him and began to smile. And he came home and he told his mother that now he understands. Now he sees, because he realized that he had done a very big mitzvah. I think that book should be burned. That's a horrible conclusion. No? He's not pleased or thrilled that the old man was happy. He's excited that he did a big mitzvah. That is so not Chassidish. Huh? Or am I just being too sensitive here?
Maybe we agree with you.
Maybe?
I think there's only 2 children's books that I like.
That's pretty slim.
Yes. So you're not being picky.
The whole Frum system actually teaches us like that. It's not the Torah, but the way we are taught in the Frum world is do it because it's a mitzvah, do it because you need to. It's kind of not really, I mean, in the long run, the other one benefits too, but we're geared to do it for us.
So if it was shaking,
congruous with the system.
Typical. If it was shaking a lulav and esrog, and you say, "Wow, I did a mitzvah," that's correct. But if you're talking about Avas Yisrael, you're talking about menschlichkeit, you're talking about decency and about sensitivity. If all you're interested in is in the mitzvah, then you're missing all that sensitivity and all that menschlichkeit and all that Avas Yisrael. It's simply not there.
But are we doing it to make the other person happy? Are we doing it because Hashem said that we should make the other person happy?
You're doing it to make the other person happy. Because if that doesn't thrill you, then you're missing something essential in your...
But not because Hashem needs it, because the other person needs it.
But that's what Avas Yisrael means. Avas Yisrael means the Eibush, they're telling us to love Jews, not to love him. So if you say, well, if you say so, no, then you're not doing the mitzvah. The mitzvah is to love Jews. Say, well, I don't personally, but if you think so, then it's not Avos Yisrael.
Isn't it both? I'm confused. Isn't it both? Doesn't he want us, what she said, isn't it 2 reasons?
No. The mitzvah of Avos Yisrael is to love Jews. Otherwise, you're not doing the mitzvah. So you ask a frum person, do you have Avos Yisrael? He says, of course. Avad. Frum Jew. In other words, you have no Avos Yisrael. If you can say, oh, of course I love Jews, then you don't even know who Jews are. Maybe you haven't met the same Jews I've met. But the absolutely, for sure, what does that mean? It means you have no idea what we're even talking about. I'm frum, and if there's a mitzvah to love Jews, then I do it. No, you don't. You're not doing it. Of course, the same is true with Avos Hashem. Of course I have Avos Hashem, it's a mitzvah. Well, then you don't have Avos Hashem. So let me get a little learning. The Alter Rebbe bases the whole Tanya on the question of what does it mean that it's very natural for every Jew to love Hashem? It's not. So first of all, can you imagine the outrage that the Frum community felt just for the question alone? The Torah says it is natural. How dare you? So you're writing apocryphals. So what is the Alter Rebbe's question? Torah says it is very natural for every Jew to love God, and his question is, no, it's not. A chutzpah. I mean, isn't that how all apocryphals get started? If the Torah says it's natural, it's natural. How dare you? No wonder they wanted to burn the Tanya and have the Alter Rebbe arrested. Just for the question alone. But really, what is the question? The question is, since every word in Torah is true, then how come I don't feel the Ava? If it wasn't true, then there's no question. So it actually comes from a real belief in Torah. And that kind of sets the tone for Chabad. Since Torah is real, it's got to be real. In your seichel, in your emotions, in your actions, and in the physical world. Otherwise, you're saying it's true on some mystical level, irrelevant to... Okay, so, in the statement, it is very natural for every Jew to love God. There are two players, two characters. There's the Jew and there's God. And the statement is, every Jew loves God. So when you realize that not every Jew loves God, where do you look for the answer? Who's at fault here? Because it can be one of two. It's either the Jew's fault. Every Jew loves God. If you don't love God, you're not really a Jew. Or the problem is with God. Every Jew loves God, but you have no idea who God is, so you don't love him. So we know that the Alter Rebbe had debated which part of Tanya should be the first part. The Sefer Shel Beinani or the Shar Yichud Ve'emunah. What is the difference between these two parts? Sefer Shel Beinani is about Jews, and Shar Yichud Ve'emunah is about the Eibishter. So he was debating which one should come first, but they both have to be. Why? Because if the Jew does not have Avas Hashem, the problem is in both. You don't know what a Jew is, and you don't know what the Eibishter is, so naturally you don't have Avas Hashem. So to solve the problem, the Alter Rebbe had to tell us what is a Jew and what is an Eibishter. And the question was, which one should come first? In the end, he decided the Sefer Shel Beinani should come first. First, you have to know what a Jew is. Okay. If we're going to write Chassidus, it has to be on these two topics. What really is a Jew and what really is the Eibishter. The danger is that we get a little distracted, a little enticed by psychology. A nice insight into the psychology of human beings seems very meaningful and it may be, but it's not Chassidus. Because Chassidus has insight into the into the non-existence of the ego rather than the nature of the ego. Chassidus is beyond ego. And every insight that we can have is to how that works. What happens beyond ego? Where do you see examples of beyond ego? Whereas psychology is all based on the nature of the ego. What works for my existence, not my non-existence.
Doesn't Chassidus have insight into our nefesh Bahamas and our nefesh Lekis? Like, to me, the ego would, let's say, be the nefesh Bahamas, and the non-ego is the nefesh Lekis. But Chassidus also has tools for the nefesh Bahamas.
The tool is how to get past it, not how to indulge it, but how to get past it. Not only get past it, but even bring some of it past itself.
And psychology would just, could you compare that to psychology?
Yeah, psychology just caters to the needs of the ego. And sometimes brilliantly. So I gotta tell you this joke. There's a chassid who's 100 years old. And he says, a typical Hasidic humor. He says, I had a dream the other night. They came to me, min hashamayim, and they said they need me as a mashpia in shamayim. And I was kind of surprised because, they were very famous, great mashpiyim. So I said, you need me? What about the Nissen? What about this one and that one? And there's a shortage of mashpiyim in Gan Eden? And they said, who's talking about Gan Eden? We need a mashpiyah in Gehenna. And that's what we need you for. Right? That kind of self-effacing which is what allows you to put someone else before yourself. Genuinely altruistic. So where other people have a question, is there really such a thing as true altruism? Isn't everything coming from your ego in some way or another? No, everything is self-motivated. Chassidus says, stop it. We have a whole library of wisdom on altruism. Not only does it exist, there's a whole system to it. There's a whole mesechta about it. So all of our teachings and writings should in some way express that quality. So just to give an example, there's a song that is very popular lately. Tamu ru'u ki tev havaya. Taste and you will see that the Eibishter is good. It's a pasuk from Tehillim. But what in the world does that mean? It's almost a nasty statement. If you taste, you will see that the Eibishter is good. Which means that if you don't do anything special, if you don't get a good taste, then he's not good. So the default position is that he's not good, but if you do something special and get an insight or a taste, then you'll discover something amazing. The Eibishter is good. What kind of business is this? So Chassidus says, what is a good person? What is Gutzkeit? What is it? A person gives a lot of tzedakah. He's a good person? Not necessarily. He's doing a good thing, but is he a good person? Not necessarily. A doctor saves lives every day. Is he a good person? Not necessarily. He's a terrible person. He just happens to be doing good things. What is a good person? You have two people giving tzedakah. One gives tzedakah because he believes that tzedakah is a good thing to do. You have to give back to the community, you have to share, you have to be grateful, you have to all that. The other person gives tzedakah because he doesn't understand why he has what to eat and you don't. It just doesn't make sense to him. Why should I have instead of you when you're so hungry? Why do I come first? Doesn't make sense to him. That's a good person. Goodness means the ability to put someone else before yourself. So when it comes to the Eibishter, we know that he is full of kindness. He created the world, he gives us life, he takes care of us, took us out of Mitzrayim, can never get over that. And he took us out of Mitzrayim. Shouldn't we update it to something more recent? What have you done for me lately? No, but you took us out of Mitzrayim, and that's wonderful. So, does he do good? Sure he does. He does a lot of good. Is he good? You don't know that. Unless you learn Chassidus, you get a taste of what the Eibishter is, and then you discover that he is actually good. Which means, what is good?
He puts us before him.
That you are more important to him than he is to himself. Now, did anybody know this? The whole frum world. Anybody ever even suspect? The Eibishter is chesed, he's full of chesed. You don't know what you're saying. Until you get a taste. And then you see, ki teiv havaya. He is good, not just what he does.
How do you see that Hashem puts us before him?
So there's all over in Chassidus, all the Eibishter created a tzimtzum, and he put his light away on the side in order to allow the world to exist. So put that in.
But is that really for us or for him? It's his taiva.
That's an important. That's an important question. What is his taiva? Which means what?
Hashem wants us to make a Dirah Tachtana for him.
Ooh.
That we should want him.
Huh?
That we should want him. Isn't it that we should want him? He wants us to want him.
Not just for him.
No, I thought he needs us. He needs us.
He needs us?
God needs you.
Is that selfish? Is it?
Why does he need you? For if not for himself.
Doesn't need anything.
He wants us to be a partner.
He needs us to be a partner.
No, he doesn't need us. He wants us.
We make a difference to him.
No. He can't do what we could do.
Huh?
He can't do what we could do in this world. No.
He-
Am I going to be sent out?
Banished from the face of the earth.
He wants a relationship.
He wants a relationship with us.
But that's
No.
selfish.
Really?
But we get something out of it. If we wouldn't get anything
No,
out
no,
of
no, no. Wait.
Look at everything.
Before we get to our benefits, do you hear what you're saying?
Wanting a relationship with someone is selfish.
No, it's not.
it, why not? What if you're not
You
interested?
want the relationship.
What does that mean? You want a relationship? It means I'm not good enough by myself. I'm not content being me. That's the ultimate humility. That's what marriage is. I'm not good by myself. So when it says in the Torah, it is not good for man to be alone, guess who he was talking about? He was talking about himself. So, does he want to be restricted by tzimtzum? Of course not. That's unnatural. Does he want to hide his face for thousands of years? Of course not. But if that's what it takes, so he sacrifices his own whatever. Let's talk about another thing, since we're on the topic already anyway. He is perfect, yet he wants something. How do you figure that? If you're perfect, you're not supposed to want. Because you're already perfect. What are you lacking?
Want isn't only about wanting or having to have something that you lack. Can't you also want something that for an addition, for an improvement, to give someone else a chance at something?
To give someone else a chance.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Why
an
do you-
addition. It's like an addition as opposed to what I lack. I want to give you more. I want you to have.
Why do you
Doesn't
want
take
me
away
to?
from me.
Yeah.
I say it doesn't take away from Hashem, but He wants us to have the ability to have bechira, to be able to do the mitzvahs. It's like, I've always thought that Hashem created the world and He had all these thoughts. It was theoretical, but it's nice. It's in your head, but until you actually try and make it happen, does it work? Sort of like the experiment. You have it in your head, all the different little parts, but then you put it together. Is it going to work? When you mix this, mix that, and everything in a bowl, and you put it in the oven, is it going to grow and taste good, or is it going to be flat and be burnt?
And why do you care?
Why would Hashem care? Just like,
Whether it works or not?
because that's part of your creativity. You want to see your creative ideas become something.
That means you're not perfect yet. Your creativity has not yet been
It's a growth thing. I wouldn't call it
growth.
growth.
So God can grow.
He can expand. He can try out things. Why not?
Oh, I don't mind, personally. In fact, I'm really glad that he does these experiments. But how does that fit with his being perfect?
That could be a different way of looking at perfection.
Okay. What would
Perfection doesn't have to be static.
Oh,
It's absolute though,
It doesn't have to be absolute.
but it is.
It's
I don't
to
know.
give us
Our
a
world
chance.
is really important.
The whole thing is to give us a chance.
I understand.
No
But why
thanks.
is it important to him to give us a chance?
To give us a chance to see Hashem and to
Maybe it's
to
not
be
important.
like Hashem, to choose.
And that's what he wants.
It's for us. It's for us because when we see Hashem,
Yeah, but he's doing it for us. We didn't lobby him. We didn't demand it from him.
that's part of His perfection is to do it for us.
Oh,
Could it be that he's alone? In other words, can you be? The world is always of two, man, woman. Can he be alone in the world? Can that be perfection, Bechlal? If he doesn't have us, he's not perfect. Can he be alone in the
so
world?
was he perfect before he created the world?
He may not have been perfect because he needed to create the world. He needed to do
That's
that.
my question. We're always told that he is perfect. He always was and he always will be. Yet he created the world. Well,
So it's a definition of perfect.
okay. So here's I think the right definition. You say to a child, the Eibishter wants you to make a bracha. And the child says, I don't want to. You say, but the Eibishter is waiting for you to make a bracha. And the kid says, if I don't make a bracha, is he going to die? And you say, no, he's not going to die. Okay, so what's the big deal? Right? See, that's a childish understanding. A person needs to breathe. Because if he doesn't breathe, he's going to die. So does he really need to breathe?
Yes. If he wants to live.
If he wants to live. In other words, breathing is only a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. So it's not true I need to breathe. I don't need to breathe. In fact, I don't even know why my life has to be dependent on breathing. Makes me quite fragile. What a handicap, especially if you live in New York. So, is it true I need to breathe? Not really. I need to live. And breathing is one of the means. So when you say the Eibishter needs you to make a bracha, you say, oh, is he going to die? No. Oh, so he doesn't need it. The exact opposite is true. He really needs you to make a bracha. Why? Is he going to die? No, it has nothing to do with dying. It has to do with the bracha. So to the Eibishter, the bracha is not a means to an end. Make a bracha so that I'll be able to live. He really wants a bracha.
Go back to the question.
doesn't wanna
How's that
live.
putting us before him?
So this idea that the mitzvah somehow makes him perfect is not correct. He doesn't need the mitzvah to make him perfect. He needs the mitzvah for the mitzvah, because he can be perfect without it. So does that make the mitzvah less important or more important? When you say the Eibishter is not going to die if you don't make a bracha, so the bracha is not important. No, the exact opposite. The Eibishter is not trying to survive. He doesn't need help surviving. So why does he need a bracha for? For the bracha. Not a means to an end.
What's the importance of
I have no idea.
So then we should make another person happy, not because it makes them happy, but because it's a mitzvah.
No, one second. I'm just trying to define what perfection means, right? The Eibishter is perfect without a mitzvah. But what does that mean, he's perfect? It means his existence cannot be improved. The mitzvah isn't going to make him bigger, it's not going to make him older, it's not going to make him stronger, because he is as strong and as old and as big. He is perfect. Means he exists perfectly. Now, what do you do with a perfect existence? That's it. I'm perfect. So I'm perfect. A person gets married. Ideally, he's perfect. Because he's a complete human being. He can take care of himself fine. What's he missing? In fact, the more perfect he is, the more he misses somebody. Because the more perfect, the more perfection I have, the more I need to do something with it. It's not a tachlis. Being perfect is not a tachlis. So what? So that's it. I'm perfect, I always was, and I always will be. That's it. So all this perfection demands sharing it with someone. So the Eibishter is perfect, of course. And yet he needs a relationship. Yes. And he needs it. And it doesn't interfere with his perfection, because perfect means he exists perfect. What he needs is a content or a tachlis for his perfection. Like, for example, a person who has everything, but no children. Does he feel like he's 99% perfect? And all he needs is a child to make him 100% perfect? No. He feels completely perfect and doesn't see any purpose to it. So what? Right? So if you ask him, are you 99% perfect? He says, I'm nothing. I'm nothing. So, but you have everything. So, the contradiction between the Eibishter needing your mitzvah and his being perfect is not a contradiction at all. On the contrary, because he is so perfect, he needs a really good content and tachlis to make that perfection meaningful. And meaningful means you involve somebody else. When Avraham,
Tachlis, it's back to him.
when Avraham became wealthy, it suddenly bothered him that he didn't have children. So now, the fact that the Eibishter needs us, and he really does need, because if he doesn't need it, he doesn't want it, and if he wants it, he needs it. You can't really distinguish between the two. Not like human beings who want things they don't need and really shouldn't want them, or don't want what they do need. So he really does. And the fact that he really needs us to make himself meaningful, that is the most humble thing you can possibly imagine. I'm no good without you. That's a selfish statement. That's the most humble statement. You give my existence meaning. And when it comes to the Eibishter and his creation, it's mind-boggling. How can we possibly? But he's an Eibishter. His imagination is infinite. So we can actually be meaningful to him. So yes, it's true that the Eibishter designs every mitzvah to benefit the human being. But that's not what it's about. It's really about this profound, inexplicable need to share perfection with someone. And that's why we call it a taiva. Nesava HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He had a taiva. Why do we call it a taiva? It doesn't sound like a nice word to describe God with. We call it a taiva to imply that it's not rational. A taiva doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to. Like al tam vareach, why do you like vanilla better? There's no reason. So the Eibishter's need is very real. The Eibishter needs what he needs much more than we need to breathe. Because for us, breathing is just a means to an end. By the Eibishter, mitzvahs are the end. And what is the end of the mitzvah? That he has you. So his taiva is not that we should build him a house. That sounds so mechanical. I need a house. Build me a house, I'll pay you. That's it? So when Mashiach comes, he'll pay us for making him a dirah? What are we, carpenters? It's not that. I mean, think of it a little romantically. Who needs a dirah? What is a dirah?
Shelter.
Who needs one place to live?
So Chassidus says, what is a dirah? A dirah is where you can be yourself. Right? So are we saying the Eibishter has not been himself lately? Like, what are we saying? That until there's a dirah b'tachtenim, the Eibishter has got issues, frustrations. What's going on? He hasn't been himself?
Maybe we can do this.
Yeah, but it's his dirah. And besides, the mashal of a dirah seems to go against everything we believe. The Eibishter wants to be the king of the whole world, not have himself a little dirah someplace in Florida. So yes, he wants the whole world to be his dirah. But then it's a misleading analogy. He doesn't want a private space away from everybody else, which is what a Dirah implies. So, Torah speaks very edel and very tznius. Who needs a Dirah? If you're single, you don't need a Dirah. You live in a dormitory, sleep on a bench in 770. A married couple need a Dirah. In other words, if you're going to have an intimate relationship, you have to have an appropriate venue. But if you're not having an intimate relationship, well, what's the difference? Sleep wherever, eat wherever, who cares? So really, Dirah b'tachtenim means the Eibishter wants an intimate relationship. And the world can't handle it. So we have to get the world elevated and refined that it should be the right place for that kind of an intimacy, for that kind of a relationship. And that's why we say in different, when Mashiach comes, the whole world will celebrate the Yidden going back to Eretz Yisrael, and they'll want to contribute, and they'll want... What exactly is going on here? It's like all of a sudden, the world that has been jealous of the idea that we have a relationship with the Eibishter will suddenly become like guests at your wedding who come and sing and dance, and they're thrilled that you have a relationship that they're never going to have. That's what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. All the nations of the world will be thrilled that the Yidden have a relationship with the Eibishter that does not include them. Like guests at a wedding. At the end of the evening, you got to go home. This is not your wedding. You're no longer welcome. Now you're interfering. So what is a Dirah b'tachtenim? It's really a very edel way of saying, I want you intimately, without being vulgar about it, without being gross. I think it's time to tell the world.
The mitzvahs are means to an end. The means to get us. How are they an end?
Because the Eibishter really needs them, that's why if we do them, we're really connecting to Him, not to the mitzvah. In other words, the mitzvah is like transparent. The mitzvah will connect you directly to Him.
Transparent.
Mm-hmm. That's why if you get from about the mitzvah and forget Him, you're undoing the whole... Like a husband who said, but I bought you flowers. Yeah, I don't like flowers. But I bought you flowers. But I didn't ask for flowers. Well, I'm a good husband anyway. Not to me. Yeah, you're a good husband. To somebody. Not to me. So if the mitzvah was just some kind of a project, it wouldn't connect you to Him. The mitzvah would become the whole religion. And in some way, Yiddishkeit has become, in the frum world, it's become a godless religion. The Eibishter is no longer relevant. Okay, we heard what you have to say, you can leave now. We got it. We know how to be frum, okay?
Has the world changed for Hashem? Since Hashem is infinite, I mean, as humans, we look at the course of the past 6,000 years and we see how much it's changed. Has it changed for Hashem too? Is Hashem also waiting for this climatic moment to bring Mashiach?
Much more than we are. Much more than we are. I talk to these people who are into tikkun olam. They're fixing the world, and they're really devoted, and they really... And you just have to add one little detail. Tikkun Olam is very important. To whom? To whom? Not to the Creator? But it's your world and you need to fix it? It's His world. If anybody needs Tikkun Olam, He needs it. But what does Tikkun Olam mean? Not to make a better world. Tikkun Olam means the world should stop being separate from Him and become united with Him. That's called Tikkun Olam. Because the word Olam means separation. If you're going to fix that, it means you're removing the separation.
So how do you do that?
Well, in a very simple, give Him the world that He wants. That's like 101. So I would love to write a book, a children's book, that says, the world is great, the world is beautiful, I am so happy, I love everything, but I hope today will go well for him. I hope that he will have what he needs. Every book talks about what the child needs and what makes the child happy, and then how the child succeeded and the child was loved and the child... Stop already. We're creating monsters. Without exaggeration. All this emphasis on good self-image and love, bombing them with love and always more love and more love, and you're creating monsters. They hate you. And the experts say, well, you have to love them more. Okay, take a hint. It's not working. We're creating antisocial monsters. They deserve everything. They expect everything. They cannot handle a no. And they hate you for loving them. So the experts are now starting to admit that it's been a really big mistake. They're saying now, they're like pulling back slowly. They're saying, never say to your child, you're perfect. Say you're okay. Don't tell your child he's perfect. You're making him crazy. You shouldn't even say to a child, I love you no matter what. Because that's such a ridiculous statement. It's such a nonsense statement. I love you no matter what means I don't care about you. Doesn't it mean that? You can be bad, you can be good, it doesn't matter. I love you. That is so dismissive.
Isn't that unconditional love?
Yeah.
It's without boundaries.
But isn't Hashem love us with unconditionally?
If you read some of the Navi, where he says how disgusted he is with us, you get a very different picture.
But that's the definition of love.
And if Moshe Rabbeinu didn't plead on our behalf, he would have wiped us out altogether.
But he might have loved us and still wiped us out.
Yeah, well, thank you for that kind of love. Don't love me so much and don't wipe me out,
It's cruel to be kind.
It's cruel to be kind, yes.
Boundaries.
Not it's cruel to be kind. It's cruel to be only kind. That's like putting a kid on a one-food diet. So it's never like too much love. It's not too much love, but only love? You can get sick from that.
You don't appreciate it.
It makes you sick. It's an unhealthy diet. So really, what should be unconditional is not love. What should be unconditional is the relationship. You are mine. You're mine. And I'm stuck with you. Unconditionally. Unconditionally means you are my child even when I hate you. See, now that's unconditional.
Or even when you hate me.
Yes.
But then if the child feels in some way that you hate him, then they feel separation, and then they might go off.
Not if the belonging is strong. If they sense, I belong to you, and you belong to me, that is indestructible. So yeah, today I hate you, tomorrow I'll love you. It's all a process, but the stability, the security comes from your mind. And that's what the Eibishter said to us. He didn't say, I love you unconditionally. He said, be mine unconditionally.
So if you show that to Hashem through the mitzvahs, how would that translate into a relationship with a child? How would you experience that belonging?
But this is what it means. Afal pi shechoto Yisrael. What does it mean? Even when you sin, you're still a Jew. Not I still love you.
Do you think Hashem's love is unconditional though?
It's conditional.
Yes?
Sure. How can it not be? If love is unconditional, then it's not a real emotion anymore.
I once heard that the Rebbe said that, I think it was the Rebbe, or maybe it was a different Rebbe, that one of the Rebbeim said that Hashem loves every Jew, even the most sinful Jew, more than a father will love his only child, can love his only son. So, how conditional is that?
No, but the play b'davar thing also, like, Kalava should play b'davar batal davar basar ava, like, I thought love has to be unconditional.
You know, sometimes in Torah, the word ava doesn't mean an emotion. It means an attachment or commitment. A commitment love should be unconditional. An emotional love has to be flexible and fickle. Otherwise, it's not an emotion. So when you say to the child, I love you unconditionally, love is a reaction. You don't just walk around loving. I'm in love. With whom? I don't know. I'm in love. Love means a response to somebody. So if somebody is lovable, you react to them. If somebody is being hateful and you respond with love, who are you responding to? It's not a response anymore. It's a fixation. You decided to love no matter what. That's not an emotion. So if you're talking about real emotional love, of course it has to be conditional, because it's a reaction to the person. So the child who is told, I love you unconditionally, will purposefully, consciously or unconsciously, try to be so bad to get you to hate him. Because he wants you to react to him. So, going back to writing and teaching, the message that Hasidus brings to the world, not to be critical or pessimistic, but it hasn't gotten out.
Hasn't what?
It hasn't gotten out. We have not succeeded in bringing the message to the world. You learn a Maimer, you learn Tanya, you say it, you repeat it. Nobody knows what you're talking about. It's not getting out there. They translate it into English. You have my Maimer in English. Nobody knows what you're talking about.
What would it look like if it was out there?
If it was out there?
Yeah, what would it look like?
The first thing is we would realize that the whole fact of creation makes one loud statement. He needs you more than you need him. I start right from the beginning. Bereshis, in the beginning God created. What is it saying? Tell me something in English. Don't quote me. Tell me, what did you just say? In the beginning, meaning before there was you, he created the world. Is that loud and clear? Before you had any needs, he created the world. So he had needs. Anechi Hashem Elikecha. The first words that the Eibishter said to us. Say it in English so that people understand. I am Hashem your God. Now we know. What is he saying? So if you want to translate it properly, not what is the word? Word for word.
Literally.
I, God, am yours. Anechi Hashem. Not I am God. Didn't have to introduce himself. Like, hi, I'm God. Are you sure? You're not kidding, are you?
It's a statement of commitment.
I, God. You know me, I'm perfect and all that stuff. I'm yours. I'm obsessed with you. So you can imagine if the people standing at Mount Sinai and have said, God says, I'm yours. And the people say, so what do you want? So what do you want?
What fries with that?
Never mind. Never mind. It's the end of the conversation. See, that's what happened when the Eibishter offered the Torah to other nations. He came and he said, I'm yours. They say, yes, so what do you want? He said, bye-bye. I mean, it's a reasonable question, though. So what do you want? You missed the whole point. Forget about it. Can't talk to you. I was talking to the Beis Rivka girls. I was talking about this. And I said, can you imagine if I told you that the Rebbe once called my grandmother? And you said, really? What did he want? I said, no, I'm not talking to you anymore. That's your response? What did he want? I'm telling you, the Rebbe called my grandmother. Oh, what did you want? Wanted a cup of tea. What did he want? That's not the point.
The point is you're so lucky. That's what you're saying. You're so lucky.
The awe.
We're so lucky.
So every place in Torah where it says Daber el b'nei Yisrael and tell them to do this, that, most people, when it says Daber el b'nei Yisrael, say, oh no, now what? Are we in trouble again? It's like when your father called you. Remember? Your father called you and you thought, what? I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. So immediately you're in trouble. So the Eibishter says, Daber el b'nei Yisrael and tell them, oh no. More? It's the exact opposite. Whenever the Eibishter has a thought or a feeling or a need who does he turn to? His first reaction is, tell the Yidden. Daber el b'nei Yisrael. It's such a compliment. So I had this little incident. The father from Israel calls me up and he says, my 12-year-old daughter is convinced that God is angry at her. And we can't talk her out of it. She's miserable, God is angry at her, and we tried everything. Can you talk to her? He puts her on the phone. So I said, God is angry at you? She says, yeah. I said, how did you get to be so important? You're 12 years old. What could you possibly do to make God angry? I'm so jealous. She said, what? I said, if God can get angry at you, you must be something. When did you become so important? Problem was over. You know, we have this negative picture of the Eibishter. He's just an angry, punishing old man, and if he's angry at you, you're in trouble. Let me stop and think, wait a minute, he's angry at you? You're significant enough for him to get angry at you? Is that not the biggest compliment in the world? So when it says on Torah, if you do such and such, my anger will burn against you. Really? Really? Nah, you're kidding. My deep anger, wow. I'm just me. And what I do can hurt you that much? So one final. Does the Eibishter have an arm? Does he have a head? Does he speak? Is he smart? Oh, yeah. He's definitely smart. He's blind, deaf, and dumb, but he's smart. What kind of Eibishter are we? Like a Mr. Potato Head here. Torah says he has an arm, he has a foot, he has a mouth, he has a nose, he gets angry, he gets happy, he speaks, he cries. Yes or no? Because if you say no, then half the Torah is like, you should erase half the Torah.
Doesn't the Rambam say it's allegory?
So we're always told that we should not take it literally. It's just a human form of expression to help us understand. The problem is, it doesn't help us understand anything. It's just a flat-out lie. What do I understand when you tell me that God spoke when he didn't speak? How does that help me understand anything? He doesn't have an arm. Yeah, but if I tell you he has an arm, you'll understand. I'll understand what? And what happened to Teras Emes? So here's a good children's book. My granddaughter is crying because the doll broke. The arm came off. So I said, "Oi, that must have hurt so." So she starts to laugh. She says, "It didn't hurt." I said, "How could it not hurt? The arm came off." She says, "It's not a real arm." I said, "How do you know?" She said, "It's plastic." Why didn't I think of that? Plastic is not a real arm. You can't have an arm out of plastic. A real arm is a bone with flesh. That's a real arm. Oh, really? That's a real arm? It's a bone with flesh.
So we're plastic compared to Hashem's real arm?
Yes. Very well put. So who really has an arm? The Eibishter has an arm. He raises it, the sea splits. That's an arm. Who really speaks? The Eibishter said, "Let there be," and there was.
No one listens to us.
Nobody listens to me. So who really speaks? So the question is, why do we use the same? Torah uses the same word for my speech as his speech. This is confusing. The answer is, don't take yourself so literally. We're calling your speech speech only so that you can understand a little bit what his speech must be like. But his is the real one. You're the image. So the Eibishter gets angry? Yeah. For real? Yeah. You mean literally? Yeah. You mean like me? No. You just blow a fuse. He gets angry. You lose your cool. He gets angry. So the Eibishter has needs? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Literally? Yeah. You mean like mine? Not like yours. Yours are pathetic. So I don't know how it turned around that the Eibishter is suddenly created in our image. So the real bottom line is the Eibishter needs us far more than we need anything, including him. And that is the true psychology. What does a human being need? deep down inside, what does a human being need? You know what the answer is? Nothing. Nothing. Since when does a human being need anything? I didn't need to be born. I didn't need to be created. I don't need anything. Sure, the Eibishter creates me with a bunch of needs. Well, thank you very much. They're not my needs. So when a person says, but I need to eat. In a manner of speaking, but it's not your need. In fact, you really don't want to eat. But you have to do it anyway. Because that's how he created you. I was speaking to a woman in Canada who was anorexic. She had pretty much gotten, it wasn't dangerous anymore. She had done a lot of therapy, but it was still. So she sits down and she starts telling me, and by the way, she was a very healthy weight. There was nothing on. She really had it under control. Just in her head, it was still. So she starts telling me how distasteful, no pun intended, eating is. I said, "You're telling me?" And I piled it on, really, like what Chassidus says about eating and taivus, and the Mishnah says you're just going to add worms in the grave, and it's disgusting and it's animalistic and it's just. She was like shocked. You're worse than me. I said, but that's the fact. The Eibishter saddled us with this really embarrassing, humiliating need to eat. I don't know why he did it, but what are you going to do? So you swallow your pride and you eat something. Cleared away her problem. Because I wasn't arguing with her. Everybody argues with her. Oh no, eating is a mitzvah, it's beautiful. But stop it. She's right. It's disgusting. Sure, if you eat with your pinky extended, it helps a little bit, but not much. And if you have a nice tablecloth with it, try to make it look good. But the fact is, come on, human beings should not behave exactly the same way that an animal does. So why did Eibishter do this to us? To humiliate us? To humble us? So Chassidus says, because it's your job to elevate. So you have to be in touch with every level of existence, the mineral and the vegetable and the animal, and because it's your job to elevate it all. Okay. It's a nasty job, but somebody's got to do it. So fine, I'll eat.
So how do you help somebody who's bulimic? I visit somebody in prison every week in Australia who's bulimic, so she's obsessed with the food, but then...
It's the same thing. Yeah. Get a definition of eating. Get a clear picture of what does it mean to eat. Whatever she's thinking is exaggerated, or something's wrong with her perception of the whole eating thing. So if you describe it properly and honestly, it starts to sound okay, normal.
Why is a lot of what you said important for kids to know? Like, for example, about, you were saying the kids' book, let's say, the fact that we're created in God's image, not God in ours.
If you want children to have any conception of Ivdu es Hashem, you got to lay the groundwork. Ivdu es Hashem means do something for Him. But He doesn't need anything. He's not going to die. So that's it. You have no foundation. You have no support for what you're going to teach him. So your children walking around saying, "The Eibishter can do anything. He can. Blah, blah, blah." Don't leave it that way. That's so meaningless. How do we tell our children that we need them? Which is very important. Because bottom line, we would much rather be needed than loved. Love is negotiable. But to not be needed, then it's all over. If I'm not necessary, don't bother loving me. It's not going to help. So if the Eibusha doesn't need us, but he loves us, what are we, his pet? That's what it sounds like. We're his toy? So again, I would love to write a book talking about the Eibishter's need. So, going back to writing. The wisdom or the chachma of Chassidus is the ability to make sense of the unknown. What's knowable, what is part of our experience, doesn't take really great wisdom. I mean, even the Gemara, two people find a shmata and they each claim it's theirs, so you divide it. I mean, that's not genius. If your cow gores, the bull gores the cow, and you pay this and that. Chassidus makes sense of things that are unknowable, which is the Eibishter. Godliness. If we can put that into English, then we would be bringing the Baal Shem Tov's Torah to the chutzah. As it is, I'm not sure it's reached to the chutzah. I don't know if it's gotten out of the circle of Chabad houses. And even in the Chabad houses, they say it, but have they really brought it down? So in action, yes. In action, the reaching out to every Jew, the acceptance of every Jew, yes, that is the Baal Shem Tov's way. But the mayonos, the teachings, they're still locked up in Hebrew and clumsy English. So it's like trying to tell somebody what tefillin are and say, oh, it's phylacteries. Thank you. I've been looking for phylacteries for a long time. So on the one hand, loving the Eibishter is fine, it's a mitzvah. Being his, that's a completely different, I mean, that's a universe higher. That he loves us would be nice, but that he is ours, that is so much more significant. Zeh Keli, this is my God. That is so powerful. Not, my God is nicer than your God, and my God can beat up your God. Baby stuff. This is my God. There's nothing more powerful than that. Like when Tevye asks Golda, do you love me? And she says,
What?
she is so much more mature than him. That's the point of the story. She says, do I love you? I am yours. You have me. You're worried about whether you have my love. And that's what the Eibishter says to us. You get on my nerves, you drive me crazy, you're stubborn, impossible. but you're mine.
Doesn't sound nice.
Doesn't sound nice?
No.
Because we're not nice. It's all true.
Yeah, but it's not nice. My husband said that to me. I wouldn't feel good.
Right.
You're a pain in the neck, but I love you anyway.
I think it's awesome.
No. Let's turn.
No, go ahead, yeah.
Let's look at it the other way. You feel like you've been a pain in the neck to him. And he says, I don't care. Now it works, right? So we can't. You don't always have to agree with me. But children have that same. Children know when they've been bad.
Yeah, I hear it. I hear it. It's a higher connection. It's a real connection. It's not fleeting.
And it's not glossing over.
Yeah, the truth.
Glossing over the truth would mean glossing over him. Like he doesn't count. It's whether there's love in the house. What about me? So for a relationship to be real, it has to be to the person. So when he thinks he's bad and you don't notice, he's hurt. How come you don't even notice? Well, I don't see your faults. You mean you don't see me? That's not helpful. Love is blind. No, not the love of a mother. So I'll tell you a really cute thing. We'll end with this. The feminine in Kabbalah, in the spheres, which is the feminine sphere? Malchus. And Malchus is the lowest and the smallest and the most humble. And so it's represented by a dot. Just a little dot. In the vowels in Torah, the dot appears in 3 different positions. Sometimes there's a dot under a letter. Then it's a E sound. Sometimes the dot appears in the middle of the letter, the middle of a vav. Then it's a U sound. And sometimes it appears on top of the vav. Then it's an Oi sound. The dot under the letter, that's a daughter. The dot in the middle of the letter, that's a sister. And the dot on top of the letter, that's the mother. So the mother, the sister, equal, and the daughter, the recipient. Where's the wife? Doesn't say this. It says there's a daughter, a sister, and a mother. But Malchus is also a wife, no? A queen. So I think the answer is a wife is all 3. You're the makabel to your husband, you're an equal to your husband, and you're a mashpia to your husband. You're his mother, his sister, and his daughter. That's complicated. You have to wear 3 hats. And you do.
It's true. It's true. Today's Hayom is about that. It's about at the end when Moshiach comes. And today's Hayom Yom. It's about exactly. That's amazing. It's beautiful. It's amazing.
So if we are the Eibishter's wife,
I just think you're going somewhere deeper that I can't. I don't know. Go ahead. I was just settling on that one. That made sense.
we get from him,
Okay.
we imitate him, and we actually give him what he needs. Like in the Megillah, there's a discussion between Mordechai and Esther. Esther says, proclaim a fast for 3 days. Mordechai says, it's Pesach. Not let a fast on Pesach. Esther said, but if there won't be any Jews left, then who's going to keep Pesach? So he was convinced, and they fasted that year on Pesach. The miracle of Purim didn't happen until almost a year later. So what was their discussion? Their discussion was, what comes first, the Jew or the Torah? It's an eternal question. Because on the one hand, what's a Jew without Torah? And on the other hand, what's a Torah without Jew? So the Medrash says, 2 things existed before creation: Torah and Jews, Jewish souls. But I don't know which of the 2 came first. When I look into the Torah and it says, speak to the children of Israel, obviously they came first because the Torah is addressed to them. So the question is, why does the Medrash say, I don't know which one came first, and then tells you which one came first? So why mention I don't know when you do know? You once didn't know, so who's interested? So it seems like the Medrash is saying, we will never really know. This debate will go on forever. But if you look in Torah, it seems pretty clear that the Jew came first. And that's why this argument repeats itself in history over and over and over. Don't we sacrifice our lives for a mitzvah? Doesn't that mean that the mitzvah comes first? The Jew is so devoted, he'll sacrifice his life for a mitzvah. Doesn't that mean the Jew comes first? You can go back and forth like this. Today, in Kiruv, in outreach work, you have these 2 approaches. The general approach is, Torah comes first. Tell people about the greatness of Torah, prove to them that the Torah came from heaven, show them how the Torah is right, show them the codes in the Torah, impress them with the Torah, and they'll become good Jews. We have a different approach. Make him feel Jewish. Tell him how Jewish he is. The rest will follow naturally. A pair of tefillin that no Jew has ever worn doesn't really have any kedusha. A chumash that no one ever read or studied is just a printed page. It's nothing. The Jew makes the mitzvah. Because just like we do the mitzvah because it's his, because it's the Eibishter's mitzvah, the Eibishter takes pleasure in our doing the mitzvah because of who we are, who's doing the mitzvah. So this relationship really is a two-way street. We're not interested in holiness and heaven. We just into him. Why? Because that's how he feels about us. We don't care what the mitzvah is. We care whose mitzvah. Who is commanding. And the Eibishter, on the other hand, doesn't really care which mitzvah. It's who's doing the mitzvah that matters. So it really is a mutual admiration. So when the Alter Rebbe climbs the ladder of davening, and he comes to the highest level, and he says, I don't want heaven, and I don't want Gan Eden, I just want you. Why did that happen? He's climbing the ladder into heaven, and then says, I don't want heaven? Because what happens is, when you get to heaven, and you say, where's the Eibishter? And you're told, Eibishter's not in heaven. The Eibishter is down on earth where people are. Because he's really interested in you, not in heaven. So then the Alter Rebbe said, well, in that case, I'm not interested in heaven either. So the Eibishter doesn't love you for your virtues and for your heavenly abilities and for your brilliance and for your holiness. He just loves you for you. That's why we reciprocate in the same way. It's about him. And that's how our marriages should be. Are couples supposed to do this or are they supposed to do that? Who cares? It's who you're with, not what you do. That is so hard today.
Can I just sit here for a minute? I feel like I'm going to faint and I can...
Today it's always about something. I was talking to a couple. He wants her to have some plastic surgery.
Yeah.
She's a very good-looking woman. Yeah, but still, you know, you put on makeup, right? You always try to look better, so a little plastic surgery would make it even better. And she refuses. And she comes up with these ridiculous excuses. You know, it's surgery, it's not so safe. And he's saying, come on, do me a favor. Get your chin fixed a little bit, or your nose, or your whatever, and then I'll be so happy. And she refuses. So we sat down to talk. So I said to her, do the surgery, for Pete's sake. The man, it'll make him happy. What is your problem?
You did not.
So she said, if I do the surgery, he will love it. He won't love me. He has a picture of who he wants to love, and it ain't me. So why should I have surgery and end up without his appreciation anyway? She had never said that before. He was shocked at his own callousness. He was like, whoa. Yeah, he got it. But as they were walking out, he said, so will you consider? Now that we cleared everything away, will you have the surgery? Give up. Hey, give up. So we're so hung up on things. It's all about a thing, this thing, that thing. And our grandparents, who we make fun of because they were so old-fashioned and so, had no idea what love means. You kidding?
Because it's modern times. So that's why everyone's so into a lot of things of the modern world.
Yeah, we think we discovered love.
What is modern? Time it was modern. 200 years ago, that was modern.
I'm sure. But
Modern. Can I go back to the love for a second? I still have stuff in my head. All that programming, in other words, which makes it sound like it's better to, if I love someone, not see their shortcomings rather than see them and love them anyway. You're saying love is not blind. I was always taught to believe love is blind. That's what I'm not understanding.
It is. The question is that all good or... true love is blind. But is that the best it gets?
Better than love being blind is to see it and love them anyway.
Like if your daughter comes home from school and says, everybody makes fun of my nose. I have an ugly nose. What do you say? Oh no, your nose is beautiful. You're lying. She knows you're lying. What do you say?
Why is it lying if you think that her nose is beautiful?
She knows it's not.
No. That's like subjective or whatever.
Yeah.
You think that her nose is beautiful, so you tell her that your nose is beautiful. Just because all the other kids are telling you that your nose is ugly, it doesn't mean that your nose is ugly. It's a matter of opinion. It's a matter of who's looking or whatever. So
Well,
why is it a lie if you, the parent,
so at
tell
least-
the child that you truthfully think it's beautiful?
It's at least ugly enough for everybody else to think it is.
But what if that was
You can't just
one-
dismiss it.
No, it can't be dismissed because it could be that it was one person
Yeah.
who thought it was ugly, who
Yeah.
spread a rumor because they had some kind of popularity or power amongst the people, whatever, and persuaded. I'm sorry, I'm going off into wherever, but I mean, like, it's one person's opinion that possibly spread to. a
Okay.
whole bunch of
What if her nose really is ugly?
I don't. I'm sorry, I can't. I guess
No
I'm an
nose is ever
artist
ugly?
and I can't. I guess I'm an artist and I can't appreciate that somebody's nose would be ugly. I can't.
So what would you say if her nose was ugly, really?
Okay, let's take away the word ugly. They say your nose is too big.
It looks like
Wait,
Let's say
hold on.
that. The kids
I have
trick. They're making fun of you.
Jews' noses are too big.
too big. What's too big? If it were
Too-
too big, you could walk around.
Yeah, you're not tripping over it.
Falling over.
Kids in school who are cruel. They're not.
I understand that, but I mean, still. there's-
So you don't have to argue and disagree, and you can say, yeah, I love your ugly nose.
But then she'll think it's a lie, because it's like you're saying that to reassure her and say, as a mother, like, don't worry.
No, you really do.
Yeah, but like,
No, you're acknowledging her feelings that it's ugly.
No, but it's reaffirming this idea that children and bullies came to her with this, oh, this is your nose is ugly, and oh, I love your ugly nose. I don't know, it's weird. It's kind of like, it's a mixed message. It's a mixed feeling.
It is. It
You
is.
just said love, but then you also said ugly, which is this quote unquote bad thing.
Yeah. And the same is true with bad character. The kid is lazy, or the kid is dishonest, or the kid, and you can say, you're a dishonest kid, but you're mine and I love you. Is that damaging? I think it's very healthy. Because it's true.
rather than saying you're a creative child, rather than dishonest or something else of the sort.
The kid knows. So if you can say, I recognize your faults, instead of ignoring them or making believe you're ignoring them, then you're telling the child that you know him, you recognize him, you're paying attention to him, and when he's bad, but he's your child and you're there for him no matter what. Rather than saying, you're a little genius, you're such a little tzaddik.
What about like all the Rebbe's letters about like hesach hadas of your spouse's imperfections and all that? Like, what does that fit in? Distract yourself. In other words, don't focus on it. Focus on the positive. Like, almost
Well,
like turn a blind eye.
If it's disturbing you.
But if you could just see it and then.
Like the story of Noach being drunk and naked. And the two sons went and covered him and did not see his nakedness. I mean, they didn't see that he was naked? Then why'd they cover him? They saw he was naked. They didn't see his nakedness. It didn't affect their respect for him. So yeah, somebody needed to be covered. But that didn't change their opinion of him. They didn't see it as an ugliness in him, just something that needed attention.
Is that something to emulate? In other words, should we not lose respect for spouses, children, etc., no matter how bad they are?
Right. Just like we don't lose respect for ourselves, even though we know how bad we are. But it needs attention. So when a kid lies, you say, you're not allowed to lie. You don't say, you're such a liar. Don't turn him into a liar. But he lies. So you got to do something about it.
So when parents like tell that to their kids, or let's say chas v'shalom, their kids are like going off the derech, crying out, and then like they put more attention on the fact that like, oh, you're not listening to us and you're on your phone on Chabad, something like that, whatever, and then like instead of like kind of showing the positive, that's what kids leave more basically. Like, is that why?
It's like this woman asked the Rebbe many, many years ago. She was looking for a job. She asked the Rebbe, should I become a typist? So the Rebbe said, do typing. Don't become a typist. Don't become a typewriter. Just use one. You know, typewriter, right?
Yeah.